This week on Vice, a natural gas windfall that's destroying a country. Then, how is Texas dealing with its catastrophic drought?
Sometimes I gotta say, God, this is all I know. I'm gonna need you to intervene.
Are you prepared to become violent and prepared to die for this?
Yes.
According to GPS, we are in the reservoir. It kind of freaks me out.
Humans are addicted to energy. The global appetite for oil and gas is as voracious as ever, and our addiction is propelling the global extraction industry into some of the world's most remote places on the hunt for precious resources. Recently, energy giant ExxonMobil has done a deal with the government of Papua New Guinea to develop a liquid natural gas project with a budget stated at a staggering $19 billion. Now, for a poor, underdeveloped nation, this could be a major windfall that could open up amazing opportunities for its people and even propel most of the country into the 21st century. So we sent Vikram Gandhi to see firsthand just what happens when an energy Goliath like Exxon descends upon a small, poor country like Papua New Guinea.
You wouldn't know by looking at this pristine landscape, but Papua New Guinea has one of the fastest growing economies in the world. Only decades ago, the local people's main forms of currency were pigs and shells. Now, since modern industry has arrived to harvest natural resources, their lives have been turned upside down.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you tell me the future of Tari at Hela province? Okay. Who is this? This is your father? Okay.
Mr. Manugo's words are not just some mystical prediction. They express the common feeling of animosity across the region. In Port Moresby, the nation's capital, I met with Philippe Allen from Oxfam, one of the NGOs tracking the Exxon development.
It is certainly one of the largest LNG investments worldwide. There's about $19 billion worth of infrastructure being put into the project, pipelines essentially running from the highlands down to the coast.
What was the deal that Exxon made, as far as you know, with the PNG government?
It's a 30-year arrangement. It'll be producing about 7 million tonnes of liquefied gas every year. There are already significant contracts lined up with Japanese and Chinese buyers for that gas. But in the PNG mentality, there's a psychological issue about the LNG project because 97% of the country is owned under what you call native title. It's owned by the indigenous people. But the government is the one that granted the concession. It's the one that gets the revenue. They're the ones who hold the checkbooks. And the bureaucracy in PNG doesn't work. It is so deep-rooted corruption that I think the government is asking for trouble.
We wanted to see exactly what was being built in the jungle, so we headed to Hela province. There, we got a private tour of the Exxon liquefied natural gas drilling operation from its self-proclaimed mastermind, Governor Anderson Aguirre.
So tell me about where we're going to go.
We're going to visit the PNG LNG operations of United States of America. I have a dream. Like Martin Luther King said, PNG LNG is a catalyst so that all manner of investment, business, and development can take place. And the genesis of some of this infrastructure, you'll be privileged to see.
Cool, let's go in.
Okay, let's go and bend this baby.
This is one of the most lush forests I've ever seen. Right now, most people live off the land as farmers, is that right?
That is correct.
And
This is one of the exploration wells drilled by Oil Search and ExxonMobil. And I built this road. That road will continue on to the southern coastline. That's where the pipelines are laid.
oh, that's the pipeline.
Pipeline, yeah. Speakermen who are laying the pipeline now are the French. And we're going to develop hydro, environment-friendly energy. We are partnering the nation of Israel through LR Group to build.
So this is a newly built airport.
Yeah, brand new airport built by Consolidated Construction Company based in Greece.
Are all the contractors, are they multinationals, or are they with it from Papua New Guinea?
Most of them contractors are from Middle East, from Europe. So the world's been here and they're still here.
Right, right.
That mountain ridge here is where the gas is, the highest gas structure.
That mountain ridge over there.
That's
the
right.
highest.
This is ExxonMobil's area.
It's massive. Were there people living here before?
Yes.
So, like, they just moved over a
Their
bit?
land has been leased to the project, so they relocated to the other side.
Is that a complicated process to relocate people?
It's a complicated process, but the people understand.
Governor Igiru sees his plan to bring his people into the modern age as visionary. But not everyone in Tari agrees with his methods or believes his intentions. What happened after Exxon came here?
Many tangible services for Hela, they didn't honor it.
Nothing has happened from the start. We just said that that's what the company is going to do, that's what the government is going to do, but we haven't seen anything.
We are angry because we want the living standard of the people to be improved.
The ExxonMobil come here, getting the money for ExxonMobil, take it back to your country and you invest. And the people we here is Sabah. They not done anything in Hajj area. Power line, hydro, electricity, water supply, housing, and opportunity for business. Never done, never done.
So they paid money to the government. Where did the money go?
We don't know. That we don't know. And we're asking now.
Did you all get paid money?
No, we don't know. No one benefits from it.
Who took the money in Hela?
Government in Agiru.
After hearing these allegations, we wanted to get Agiru's side of the story. Turns out the governor, who spends most of his time in Port Moresby, was only in Hela province to stand trial on corruption charges. So we decided to pay him another visit before he left town. The general feeling out when we just talk to anyone out on the street is that they're owed money and that somebody's been taking their money, and a lot of people blame the government.
No one owes anybody any money. When you talk to a person and say he's owed money, for what? They can only get royalty for what has been developed on top of the land.
So have people here benefited from Exxon being here, the local people?
I think so.
Okay.
But we cannot measure that as yet. Let's get away from the view that all of a sudden things will change. Right now, the focus of the government of PNG, myself, and ExxonMobil is to build the project. LNG will not make everybody rich. LNG is only a catalyst so that all manner of business and opportunities can be opened for Papua New Guinea. I keep telling the people that, and they think there's cargo cow somewhere, goods and money, bags of money will drop.
20% of the income that comes from Exxon will go to the government of Papua New Guinea.
That is correct. Before it is exported, I get 2%.
You mean the state does?
My government has that right, 2%.
But it seems like so much money has been spent here, but it hasn't reached the people. So where did the money go?
Most of it goes to the contractors. You know, when you say it hasn't reached the people, I don't understand the angle you're coming from.
There was money being taken in Port Moresby from the people here.
That is the national government's fault. What money they put into my province, that is what I manage.
But do you know where that money that's been spent is that never reached the people?
It is stolen. I mean, those are not money that's supposed to go to people. They're supposed to build schools and hospitals.
Yeah.
But that money's gone.
But you're the governor, so you must know how this works, right?
That is not my area.
With allegations of nearly $190 million stolen from the public already, it's not hard to imagine why the people would feel burnt by their leaders, especially considering many of them don't have access to electricity or running water.
So what did you think this place would look like?
I want this place to look like America, New York City.
So you imagine that after Exxon came here, that this place would transform?
Yes.
Doesn't look like much of a city now.
The people of Hela province are slowly realizing that they are merely an afterthought in a development story that's about what's in the ground and not who lives on it. We reached out to Exxon for comments, but our repeated requests for an interview were denied. As it turns out, what's happening in Papua New Guinea is not unique. It is so common in the developing world that it has an economic term, known as the resource curse. So we spoke with Tara Lawson-Remer, a former senior policy advisor at the U.S. Treasury Department, who is familiar with both the resource curse and the situation in Papua New Guinea.
The resource curse occurs when poor countries or middle-income countries with relatively weak governance have a windfall of natural resources like oil, like copper, like gold, and essentially what happens is that the country, which should have really strong benefits from all this income, actually is left worse off. They are significantly more likely to experience an armed conflict.
Oxford economists have found that the chance that a developing nation with resources will have a civil war is 1 in 5, a rate 20 times higher than normal. For example, Nigeria. It is the world's 4th largest producer of oil, yet over half their population is destitute, leading to uprisings and piracy. Or Burma, where for half a century the regime has collected profits to fund their army against insurgency. The potential for conflict only increases as poor, underdeveloped nations become the fueling stations for both industrialized giants and emerging economies like China and India.
The government of Papua New Guinea is just an unsophisticated bargainer compared to global multinationals. If you just look at the size of the economy of Papua New Guinea versus the size of these big transnational extractive industries companies, it's just David and Goliath.
But this is not even the first time that the resource curse has struck Papua New Guinea.
Can you give me an example of when resource development from an outside corporation went wrong?
You should look no further than Bougainville. There was a very significant mine in Bougainville, a copper mine, which had been running for many, many years. Arguments about the distribution of those resources, questions about whose land the mine was on, about fair compensation, about employment of people were never adequately addressed at the start. And as a result, there was a protracted civil war on Bougainville for the best part of a decade. It appears that the mistakes that were being made 20 years ago is in fact being replayed now. Exxon may end up wearing a lot of the community's anger. The community itself won't make a distinction between the monies coming from Port Moresby, from the government, or coming from Exxon. It's a recipe for violence and everything else.
After years of fruitless petitioning and demonstrating, many people in Papua New Guinea are resorting to other forms of resistance. Stanley Mamu, a community organizer, readily took us into the jungle to meet the growing armed movement for ourselves.
These guys have their own militia?
Yep.
What are they after?
ExxonMobil never pay compensation on their land, and it is just bulldozing the project. They get the guns, and all the people are waiting for us down there. Be careful here.
Oh, shit. Can you show that to me?
Yeah. That's homemade. Come.
Who made this?
He made it.
You made it?
Yeah. I'm more prepared to get out and fight against ExxonMobil, because this is my land. I grew up in here, I live in here, and I will die in here. We thought that they're here to improve our way of life, but that never happened. They just want to left us in a primitive life. They're just here to win by making us lose.
Besides Stanley's crew, we met several other groups, all preparing for war with Exxon.
People are gathering now. People are mobilizing themselves. There will be a destruction here.
Does everyone have one of these?
Yeah.
They grab a gun and then bang bang.
There's going to be another Bougainville. More guns coming in. There's going to be a blockage on the pipeline. There's going to be bloodshed on the streets.
So are we headed for a war?
We're heading for war.